friends. I'm your host, Erin Port, and welcome to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. Life can be overwhelming and busy, so once a week, I invite you to join me, and together we will make simple tweaks to uncomplicate the hard parts of our life so we can spend more time doing what we love. Welcome back to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I promise you summer is around the corner despite what the Midwest weather is currently giving us. But if you are like me and like every other mom probably on the face of the planet, you're probably thinking about summer. First of all, how you're going to spend it, how you're going to manage it, whether you're a work at home mom, a work outside the home mom, a stay at home mom. I have done a variety of things, and I'm telling you from all of my experiences that stress and tension, while it might look a little bit different based on your circumstances, we're all feeling that pull of like, what will it look like? What are the expectations we have? How can we do it well without losing our mind? I'll be honest, it's a season I have struggled with. I thrive on rhythm, and summer tends to flip it on its axis. Also, I work at home and I try really hard during the school year to work while the kids are in school and be present when they're at home. And that always doesn't look perfect, but summer tends to blur those lines a lot, which makes me feel like I'm not doing anything really well. And just vocalizing that for the first time ever to somebody almost made me feel a little bit ashamed because so many people love summer. It's this praised season of so much fun and so much spontaneity and excitement and joy. I was like, it's kind of hard for me. But after nearly 16 summers with kids at home, I've learned a few things, most of them the hard way. So today, I thought as we're thinking about summer, I'd share 8 simple lessons that I've learned and tiny tweaks that have helped me shift my mindset or helped me practically engage with the concept. And I hope that as we think about this, that it will really help and encourage you as you approach summer if you're feeling any anxiety like I am. And don't forget to tune in next week because I also asked the SPL community on Instagram for their tiny tweaks that simplify summer and make it 100 times easier. And they are so good. So I decided to make that its own episode. So that will be airing next week. So be sure to tune back in next week. But first, 8 lessons I've learned about summer that I hope help both of us make life a little bit easier as we move forward. Lesson number one, when life shifts, anxiety is normal. Okay, this was huge eye-opener for me because I definitely get anxiety when things shift, right? Like when I go from one season to the next, I get anxious and I think, I'm always going to feel this way. And my therapist reminded me that this is actually a normal psychological response when a season shifts. Maybe you go from kids being at home to kids being in school, or maybe you're going from working from home to working outside the home, or maybe like us, all of us, you have kids in school and now they're out of school. And when that shift happens, our brain craves predictability and it doesn't know what to expect. So therefore, it sounds the alarm of anxiety. It's just trying to keep you safe. It's just trying to let you know like, some unpredictable stuff is coming up, and anxiety rises to the surface. So I think first of all, the first tweak is always to like understand that this is normal. That if you're feeling a little anxious about a seasonal transition, that's normal. You're not broken. You're human. And then I like to go back to the truth. So tweak number 2 for this first lesson is that I went back into my gratitude journal from last year. You know, I'm a huge proponent of gratitude journaling. I have a gratitude journal in our shop for this reason. But it's not just helpful in the moment to help you focus on the good things in the moment, but it also is helpful at going back. So as I was thinking about the summer and just feeling really anxious about it, I decided to look back and say, okay, what was last summer like? So I flipped back in my entries and looked at June, July, and August. Just some of the, I went through and I read them. And some of the things I saw were 3 p.m. ice cream parties. We went to the library, spent a lot of time at the lake. I got extra time with my kids. And what I started to feel was there was less anxiety and more excitement, like, I'm going to get all this extra time with my kids. And yes, I remember those fun things that we did. and it reframed my mindset. So, all is not lost if you're not a gratitude journaler. The other thing you can do is go to the phone app go to your phone and open up the camera app and go back to June, July, and August of last year and just scroll through your photos. You're going to find the same thing. What are some things that are popping up in your photos that you remember doing with your kids or with your family? And you're going to start to see, like, oh, yeah, we did do a lot of really cool, fun things. Oh, I'm so excited about that. Or, oh, we should do that again. Or, oh, yeah, that was a really sweet memory. And so just trying to do that will get you more excited for the upcoming season. All right, lesson number 2. Hard and different don't automatically mean bad. What do I mean by that? Well, I was again at the therapist's office the other day. Welcome to Therapy 101, and you don't even have to go. I'll just share all my experiences. No, I'm just kidding. But what my therapist said to me, we were talking about summer, and I was kind of just like sharing, like, I'm feeling anxious. And she said, hard doesn't mean bad. And it also made me think of something my dad has always said to us our entire upbringing, because we moved a lot growing up. And so it was really easy to compare experiences. But he would always say, it's not good or bad, it's just different. So I combined my dad's mantra and my therapist's reminder, and hard and different don't automatically mean bad. Our brains crave ease and familiarity. So when something feels new or uncomfortable, it often gets labeled as bad. Like, ugh, this feels uncomfortable. This feels new. I don't know what I'm doing. Automatically, it's bad. But sometimes it's just stretching us and making us have to like grow a little bit, change a little bit. We don't like that. We like to be in our comfort zone, but it doesn't mean it's bad. So, something that I often say to myself is this truly bad? Is this truly, or is it just hard, or is it unfamiliar? Again, naming it to taming it is going to be really helpful for us in this season. And just saying to ourselves, hard and different don't automatically mean bad. And this is just the shift of the season, right? And anxiety likes to rear its ugly head because it's unpredictable and we don't know what to expect. Okay, lesson number 3. Zoom out to see the full picture. Okay, I've talked about this before, but oftentimes as moms, especially, we can see our love. We like to measure it in 24-hour increments. Like, was I a good mom today? And honestly, that's not how love is measured, right? We measure it over a lifetime, right? But we can so easily zoom down in and see like, oh, these like I didn't do this today or I didn't do that today. The same as with summer, right? Like I didn't do this in this day of summer, or I didn't do it this week or whatever. So one of my favorite tiny tweaks to kind of help us to see more of the picture is to zoom out. And at the very beginning of the summer, I love to do this. I love to print out a 3-month set of calendars. And don't worry, I've made some really cute ones that are totally free. simplepurposefulliving.com/summer, and I will also put the link in the show notes. It has the 3 months at a glance, 3 months on a page. There's like a what's matters list, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, and also some other tips and tricks to help you simplify summer. So you can grab that at simplepurposefulliving.com/summer. But print out those calendars and use a pencil because plans change and I like to be able to race, and just sketch out some of the cornerstones, things that are already built in. If your kids are going to camp or you're going on a vacation, or if they have different practices for sports in the summer, and sketch those out on paper. Because what often happens is when we can see what's already on the calendar, we're going to step back and be like, whoa, we already have some really fun things planned for the summer. And if you don't, this is your time to add them and invite kids into the process. So once I sketch out my summer on a piece of paper and kind of see what everything's going, what we've got going, what does June look like? What does July look like? What does August look like? My 2 big kids want to bring their friends to the lake this summer. So where can we fit that in? And a couple of, my 2 big kids are going on a trip, each one of them. So I've got that on the calendar along with dance and football and basketball, all of the things. But our brain tends to hyper focus on the here and the now, especially when we're anxious and we get that tunnel vision. So it can trick us into thinking we're not doing enough. But when we step back and we get that, it's what is called distancing in behavioral therapy. It helps us to take a wider view to see our situation more completely and more compassionately, which I love. So once you've sketched that out, then there's another thing that I would recommend you doing is to, instead of doing a bucket list, which a couple of years ago we did a bucket list. We used to do it. I used to be a proponent of it. And then one summer I didn't get to like 50% of the bucket list items and I declared the summer a total failure. And I just thought that actually isn't true when I stepped back, right? When I took that bird's eye view, I was like, we actually did a lot, but because I had 50 things on the list and we only did 20 of them, well, I saw it as an F, right? 20 out of 50 is failing. But I made a tweak from there. So once you have your bird's eye view, the next thing is to invite your kids into the planning of summer and ask them, what do you want to do this summer? What's one thing you want to do? And instead of calling it a bucket list, we call it a what matters list. And I have in that printable pack 6 little buckets. So it's still considered a bucket list, but there's purposefully only 6, like 1 or 2 for each kid. If you had to pick one thing you wanted to do this summer, what would it be? And then on that bird's eye calendar, you plug and play those things so that we know what gets matters will get done. You can plug it right in. And then anything ever extra is just, confetti on the cake, right? But that is super helpful as well. So sketch out your summer in pencil because things change, and then ask your kids, what is one thing you want to do this summer? And put that on a what matters list and then put it on the calendar so you know that it gets done. And that will just help you to be able to do the things that matter to you this summer. All right? All right. Lesson number 4. You have to help the good stuff stick. Okay, so summer can be beautiful, but it can also be a blur. And as I mentioned before, I gratitude journal every morning. It's just an anchor that helps me feel tethered. We're going to talk about anchors that help us feel tethered in just a minute. But our brains are naturally wired with negativity bias. And what I mean by that is we latch onto what's going wrong and filter out what's right. So if you say, if 99 things are going well, but I can only think of the one thing that went wrong, again, you're not broken, you're normal. This is a human condition. And we tend to do this as moms, right? Like if 95% of the day goes well, but 5% of it goes south, that's all we're going to think about. And so we have to help the good stuff stick. Neuroscientist Rick Hansen says this: the brain is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. Writing things down will help them stick. So, just like we use the gratitude journal to remind us of all the good things we did last summer, we're going to use the gratitude journal, or you could do a line a day journal. You could open up a note in your phone, however you want to do this. But just even writing down one good thing that happened each day will help you to remember cumulatively over the season that it was a good season. There was good to be found every day in the season because there is always good to be found in the everyday. Every day might not be a great day, but there's something great that happens every day, or good, right? So let's help the good stuff stick by writing it down in a gratitude journal. Again, I know someone who sells one. I'm going to put the link to our gratitude journal in our show notes. The thing I love about our gratitude journal is it's lines to put what you're grateful for and something that you're looking forward to for the day, which also helps set the intention of positivity from the start. So again, we're wired towards negativity bias. So if 99 things are going right, we're going to remember the one thing that's going wrong. So we have to help our brains remember what is good and helping us. That's not only going to help us now remember that summer is good, but then we can look back next year and be like, yes, these are all the great things that happened. And not just, I want you to be specific. Like I said earlier, I said like 3 p.m. ice cream parties, or, my kid learned how to roller skate, or we played pickleball on the front lawn, which we did the other day, by the way, and was a blast with our little Aldi pickleball set. But being specific will just help you to go back and be like, okay, there was good in every day. Okay, so lesson number 4, help the good things stick. Lesson number 5, Working in the summer will look messy, but that doesn't mean you're failing. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I feel like in the summertime, work just is a little more blurred. I have less boundary lines between mom and employer, and I have, all of those things. But if your productivity has its seasons, right? And this one might look a little bit different. Here's a few things that help me in the summertime as I'm working. I have a list of must-do activities that must get done for my business to keep going. Now, there's things I like to do, like show up on Instagram stories and do a reel every day. But when push comes to shove, there are a list of things that must get done, and there's some things I'd like to get done. And it's really helpful when you know what must get done every single day, because then you can be crystal clear on like, okay, I need to get this done. And then I think the next thing is I was talking about this with my business coach, Allie Worthington. She said it's good for kids to have like we sit down every morning for breakfast in the summer and just have a conversation with them. Like, this is what mom needs to get done today. What would you like to get done today? And this is the window in which I need to be on a call, or I need to be recording a podcast, or whatever it is for you. And setting those expectations for kids um, allows them to practice independence and figure things out on their own. Like I even am going to make a little sign, and we'll see how this goes, that says mom's busy right now. And it's okay for them to have to learn to wait. That's hard as moms, right? That's so hard. But allowing them the chance to problem solve themselves and practice a little boredom, which we're going to talk about, is good. And then I think it's okay. Sometimes we will use screen time to help get through if I have like an extra long work day or whatever. But I think just giving yourself the grace to do what works for you, to problem solve, to say, okay, what makes the most sense? Like for me, getting up a little earlier in the morning, I do my best thinking in the morning. So it makes the most sense to do my heavy lifting work in the morning, and then having some more fun time, a little more flexibility in the afternoon. And then just prioritizing that. So just asking yourself, what kind of worker are you? When do you do your best thinking? What makes the most sense for your family? And get the support that you need from either, external support or your kids. That would just be my words of encouragement to you, and also solidarity in trying to do work and parenting in the summertime. It is tricky. Okay, lesson number 6. Rhythms help everyone know what to expect. So one of the things that I told you early on in this podcast that I struggle with about summer is every week looks vastly different. Like every week during the school year does look a little bit different. Like you might have an early out, or you might have a late start, or you might have a doctor's appointment, or no school on a day. But for by and large, you're getting up at the same time, you're going to bed at the same time, you have the same activities week after week. Where in summer, that's just not the case. And so it's harder for things to feel normal. And as I told you, our bodies and our minds crave predictability. So when we don't have that, we feel a little more anxious. So that's where rhythms and routines come into play. Summer doesn't have to have a rigid schedule. It doesn't even have to have the same schedule as a school year. And my guess is for most of us, it's not going to. But having a rhythm helps people feel tethered. I think of routines in the summer as like an anchor, right? Like a good sunny day on the boat. But if you don't have an anchor, you can't fully relax because your boat may be drifting off. It might hit another boat if you're in a crowded location. But if you put an anchor down, you can take a deep breath because you know kind of like, okay, my boat is tethered. We're going to be here, right? We're not going to drift away. And so some things that we do to kind of keep that anchor down is we try to keep the wake up time, meal time, and bed times semi-consistent. So what time are we going to, like when you might not get up at the same time every morning, like your kid might waver a little bit on that. They might get up later than in the school year, but when they get up in the morning, there's a few tasks that they do. They brush their teeth, they get dressed, they have breakfast. Mealtime, this is what we do for breakfast. This is what we do for lunch. This is what we do for dinner. Clearly, I'm still meal planning, right? And then bedtime. Again, it might not be the same bedtime as during the school year, you might be going to bed a little later, but still having those same sort of bedtime routines, putting on our pajamas, brushing our teeth, reading a book before bed, getting into bed. Those are really helpful and just helping kids know what to expect. Kids still need the same amount of sleep in the summertime, so do adults, right? And just anchoring our day with a couple of touch points, kind of those, a morning chore, a midday reset, an evening wind down, help us to just know what to expect. And when kids know what to expect, it's helpful for them as well. I think also the same thing with like in the school year, having a weekly calendar on the fridge, using a fridge calendar or a visual cue, allowing everyone to know like this is what's on tap for this day and this is what's on tap for this day, just helps people to know what to expect. So still having some sort of routine, thinking through like what is the routine? Again, doesn't have to look like the school year, but just knowing that will help people, you and your kids, know what to expect. Okay, lesson number 7. Quiet time is good for everyone, including you. Just because no one naps over here anymore doesn't mean we don't need quiet time. Space isn't selfish. It's survival. So, all of us, and I think depending on if you're an introvert or an extrovert, but all of us could use a little bit of space and quiet to just be by ourselves, right? There is a lot of togetherness in the summertime. I'm already thinking about, I spend the vast majority of my working hours by myself in my house. And then to go from that to like 24/7 all summer long, everybody in the house together, that's a lot, right? And so just establishing and thinking about like how can you establish some quiet time? Is there some time where everybody can just kind of go to their own spaces? Even like my kids, even when they aged out of nap time, like, okay, just everybody's going to take 60 minutes and they're going to go to their room and they're going to do their own thing. We're all just going to take some time away because sometimes too much togetherness is just too much togetherness, right? We all just need to take a breath. So we can use an audiobook, puzzles, screen time might be good for this, right? We do screen time in the summertime, especially for our younger two. It gets trickier when your kids have phones, but our younger two have iPads, and they know that they can have 60 minutes of screen time every day. It's usually in the afternoon during quiet time. And they set an alarm, a timer on their iPad. I taught them how to do it. They have headphones. They can, watch something or play games. And when that timer goes off, they put it away. And basically, if they don't abide by it and I catch them not using the timer, they lose their privilege. So it's kind of self-monitored. And then if they're not, if they're abusing their privilege, then it's taken away. But it's just nice to have time to rest. So even thinking about like, what does that look like in your home? It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need a bunch of quiet time boxes, but just a little bit of space and breathing room to have everyone have. I'm like contemplating how can I get a little bit of space for myself. And that sounds selfish, but I also know having a little space to breathe makes me a better mom. So what does that mean? Even like my husband being like, I'm going to take all the kids to, X, Y, or Z. And, as moms, we're like, oh, I don't want to miss out. But just like taking a moment, allowing them to go do something. I don't know. I'm still processing that. Let me know if you have any good tips for that. But quiet time is good for everyone. Lesson number 8, we're rounding to home field. This is the last one. Leave space. We've talked about zooming out so that we can get a better view of what's actually happening in the summertime. But I always like to remind you that boredom is the birthplace of creativity. So I have to tell you, my mom, I remember one summer distinctly. I was probably going into 7th grade and she was working part-time at a accountant's office as an accountant, a bookkeeper. And I know because she's told me like she felt really bad that she wasn't at home that summer. But that summer, I'm 6 years older than my little sister. I created a little summer camp and we had a daily activity and I meal planned all of our lunches. I truly believe that is where I first started meal planning. And I remember that summer being so much fun. I had the opportunity to kind of flex my leadership and my teaching abilities and my meal planning abilities. And I would do the little, list of like what we were going to have for meals. And I'd give my mom my grocery list of the things we'd need for the following week. And I still have the fondest memories of summer. And I think my mom probably had a different perspective than me, but it's tempting to rush in and want to fill every moment for our kids and like do all the things, right? But that summer, I had some boredom, right? There was space for me just to do whatever. And it was the birthplace of creativity. And I literally look back on that summer and think so many gifts that I didn't even know I possessed kind of started to take root and blossom as a seventh grade girl. And it was the path of imagination and kind of helped me to see some of the things that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. So I have oftentimes felt like our youngest daughter, Simple Purposeful Living, really started to take off when Lucille was, oh gosh, she was maybe 1 or 2. And I remember I'd be working away during nap time and sometimes while she was up, and she'd just be tootling around, and she has the best imagination. I'm telling you, just and and they really do like absorb the things that you think, oh gosh, am I ruining them? But she gave me these Simple Purposeful Living earrings for Mother's Day this year with this little sign that said, thank you for shopping our small business, and here's a QR code for another necklace of your choice. And the earrings were our logo with the 4 dots, which, if you don't know, the logo of Simple Purpose Living is a dot for each of my kids. And so anyway, it was just so cool to see how, like, I thought one thing. I thought, oh gosh, I'm not spending enough time with them. I'm not spending enough time with her. And here, like, in her boredom, like this creativity, like me, when I was growing up, when my mom had to work, I was able to, like, learn and grow and develop and find things to do. And the same with our kids. So it's okay if our kids say, I'm bored. Sometimes you could say something like, awesome, that means your brain is ready to create something. I even feel that as an adult sometimes. Like, I'm bored. And instead of picking up my phone, I'm like, okay, what's something I can do? And I really enjoy cooking and trying new recipes and reading. And so instead of picking up my phone, I try that. And so helping our kids even figure that out, like brainstorming, like, oh, could you try this or try that? Or even just letting them take a minute. It's crazy the things that they've come up with over the years. My kids have set up movie theaters in the basement. They've set up, they've had like WWE wrestling matches amongst the boys, all sorts of crazy things. The other night, my daughters were playing hockey with one of those big bouncy balls in the basement. Nothing was broken. They had a blast. But margin is where the magic lives. I think of summer as the Sunday of the year, right? There is so much is going on in our school year, right? From activities to schoolwork, right? But those weekends are kind of where we're allowed to just like rest. And I kind of think of summer as a place of rest for my kids. So rather than filling it chock full, just giving them some space to breathe, some space for that boredom to breathe creativity, uh, and just giving them white space, leaving afternoons open, and then knowing that sometimes out of that white space, true spontaneity and fun can happen. So, those would be the lessons I've learned over the last 16 years. I'm sure there's more lessons that I totally haven't even thought about. And if you have a lesson that you've learned about summer, or I would love to hear it because I think we can all learn from each other. So email me at Erin@simplepurposefuliving.com or DM me on Instagram. But I just want to remind you that summer doesn't have to be perfect to be good, that there is this very real feeling of anxiety in transitions and that you're normal. And let's ditch the pressure to be perfect, to make our summers perfect for our kids. Allow time to rest, allow time to have quiet time, zoom out, kind of sketch out your summer, ask your kids what matters, make sure that's on the calendar, and then make space for simple moments that make life sweet. And I hope that you'll take a minute and look back through your phone or look back through your gratitude journal and see that there were a lot of sweet moments last summer. Yes, it might have been chaotic. It might have looked a little messy trying to work and parent and to be all the things in the summer, but good is there if we look for for it, and I hope you'll find it this summer. So I'm cheering us both on in this transition. And again, come back next week because I've got lots of awesome tweaks from our Simple Purposeful Living community that are super practical and help you simplify summer. So until then, friends, I hope that if you're kicking off summer, you're anticipating summer, or you're already head into it, that you are finding some grace and peace by listening to this episode. If you like this episode, it would mean so much if you'd share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review so others can find our show. Until next time, you can find me at Simple Purposeful Living on Instagram and Facebook.